Jake Ludington here at VMworld 2011, and I'm here with Nigel and Milan from the HP Cloud Advisors team. And one of the challenges that people are facing with cloud is figuring out what they need to do about storage. And which one of you wants to speak to that first?
Sure, I can take that. I think in the last few days, as we were in the role of cloud advisors, as we've talked to customers and people who have deployed cloud already or are planning to deploy cloud or in halfway through their implementation phase, I think the number one barrier and the number one, the first thing which is foremost in people's mind is around what do they do about the storage, because at the end of the day, data is what is very important important critical component of the IT infrastructure. Is that they look at what are the key characteristics they should look for in the storage infrastructure and things and as we discussed, some of our product offerings which we have with 3PAR as well as Left-Hand, the multi-tenancy capabilities, thin provisioning, ability to peer motion, ability to move volumes from array to array seamlessly, and also over time we're going to extend that for the third-party arrays as well, non-HP arrays as well, to help the transition into the cloud environment resonates very well with the customers. And I think even the folks who have deployed environment into the cloud would admit to that was the single most thing which they were more concerned about, and we're happy that they made the choices which they made. And I think it follows then up the stack to then security and then matrix and then provisioning.
So how do you determine your storage needs? I mean, if you want to break this down to the most basic level, I mean, obviously there's complexities around every install and they're all unique, but like how do you arrive at what you need for storage when you're working on your cloud deployment?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's very difficult to plan ahead. And I think, especially when it comes to storage and how your application is going to behave, and I think this is where HP and 3PAR and the products with HP have got an edge, is that these products were not the legacy products, which were enterprise products, which were trying to be retrofitted into the cloud requirements. These products were designed from ground up into live in a cloud environment. So things which are very important are thin provisioning. So HP's products pioneered the whole concept of thin provision, is that use only storage which you allocate only the storage which you are really using. Don't have to over provision, don't have to under provision. The system takes care of itself. So the fact that with thin provisioning, a lot of complexity around how much storage you need to allocate beforehand, which application needs to get which storage and what's the quality of service, all of that planning is gone away. When you choose products which have a thin provision in it, then there is zero detect. Make sure that you have deployed in your storage infrastructure very thinly provisioned, and you're allocating only what you've used. But you also have to continue staying thin. And the way to do that with zero detect, so when you're deleting a files or deleting VMs or moving stuff around, the blocks which have been reclaimed are completely reclaimed and gone to the entire storage array and not just one application. So those are the kind of components which becomes very critical in terms of making sure even if customers don't have to plan or provision or have to worry about allocation, more allocated or less allocated, there's no right size allocation, as our system takes care of it. And last but not least, I think multi-tenancy. If you're in cloud, you need to have multiple applications reside on the same storage infrastructure. And having multi-tenancy is very important. Securities on our multi-tenancy is very important, both at the storage level and also at the access points. Are extremely critical. And then data mobility. As your application workload is changing, you want the data underneath to be tiered or cached and all of that to happen seamlessly. You don't want, as an IT administrator, to make all of those decisions during the planning phase or during the implementation phase, or stuff which gets after deployment, change the plans and change the infrastructure. You want the storage system to do that for you. And I think that's one of the key characteristics where the newer generation of the cloud storage, such as 3PAR and Left-Hand and HP, which brings to the table, and that's been a great point of resonance with the customers here.
Nigel, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, it's a lot was covered there. I mean, I think one thing is very key is that the infrastructure you need for a cloud, a private cloud or a public cloud, the infrastructure design is very different to the data center today. And as Lon said, we're constructing that infrastructure and putting it into our solutions like Blade System Matrix or Vert System, designing the needs of that cloud in from day one. And so, the firmware, the software, the packaging is all built with that cloud application in mind, where it's going to be a variety of workloads. What's going to get deployed in the cloud? Well, you'll know when the first self-service user comes and says, okay, this is what I'm going to put in. And I think that, that aspect of multi-tenancy is key, is that when a new workload arrives, you don't want it to disturb the other workloads in the environment. And so we've got very specific network infrastructures, very flat, very well designed for this east to west traffic that happens in a cloud application. We have the storage infrastructure doing the same thing, really isolating the impact that one application is going to have on another. And then we have in the management stack where people are, which is handling the requests for new services to be produced, software which is looking at the capacity of the environment, trying to and matching the workload to the right capacity, the right place in the environment, so that they get the right performance without impacting anyone else. So it's really a layer that goes from firmware right through the management software that's going to give you that performant cloud solution.
So how does HP's Cloud System Matrix play into all these aspects of management that you're outlining here?
Well, Cloud System Matrix incorporates all those management components. I mean, it's a software stack that allows you to design a set of services which you can put into a catalog. It lets a self-service user come to that catalog and say, I want this one or this one. It lets you, if you're an administrator, carve up your resources in your pool and say, in your environment, and say, I want to create a pool for the QA department, I want to create a pool for the production department, and assign capacity from the networking, from the storage, from the server environment into those pools. And so it's going to manage the entire life cycle of those services. Right?
So basically it boils down to, if you use the Cloud System Matrix, you can optimize for the performance that you need.
Absolutely.
All right, well thanks guys.
Thank you.